what happens when television drama meets high-octane martial arts. You get a video that hits harder than a roundhouse kick from Chuck Norris. We've never been shy to mention movie beatdowns, but we also want to show love to the smaller screen, so today the TV Regent is giving you the top 25 martial arts fight scenes in TV shows. Kicking things off is Johnny Lawrence finally getting his redemption by taking down the big bad wolf. That's not even a metaphor as such, because his opponent is quite literally named Sensei Wolf. After an initial setback which affects his own confidence, Johnny finally gets his mojo back when LaRusso surprisingly speaks to him in his own language.
What dojo are you fighting for? What dojo are you fighting for?
Cobra Kai.
And does defeat exist in your dojo? Does it?
No.
That's all he needed to take out his opponent and claim the final victory that got Cobra Kai the ultimate trophy. Yeah, I know it's a bit cheesy, but this show is based on an 80s film series, so it's only typical for it to get the same treatment, isn't it? Also, it's a great character arc for Johnny, because in The Karate Kid, he was almost tossed aside as the one dude the hero needed to beat in order to claim victory. Here though, he gets the perfect ending, especially as we get to spend a lot more time with his character. Look, I get the vengeance and stuff is important, but hanging one's muse is rarely a fulfilling act. Matt Murdock came back into our hearts with Daredevil Born Again, and while it may not be on the same level as the OG Netflix series, it is still a good watch as we see a different side of the devil of Hell's Kitchen. Yes, I'm aware that version of Muse doesn't have some of his most important powers, but that shouldn't matter because this list isn't about powers. Daredevil dominates Muse with rage, and the final act where he hangs him was cold and heartless. He still stopped before it resulted in death, so the good old Matt is still inside there somewhere, but things did get really dark, which is why this sequence feels so heavy. At the end of the day, Bro was here to save a little girl, not commit murder in front of her.
I wouldn't do that again if I were you.
Blank and talk American.
Holy shit. Do it again. Say something.
I didn't travel halfway across the world in that damn boat just to amuse a few fat white.
Bro isn't a fan of immigration officers, and he sure as heck ain't scared to show it. Warrior is a great TV show that's based off an original treatment by none other than Bruce Lee. So yeah, it was always going to be an interesting watch, but to see such an epic moment right in the very first episode was enough to make me a fan of Sahm. The fight here is pretty simple. We have our main boy trying to help somebody only to be attacked by a bunch of immigration bros, and he decides to teach them a lesson the only way they'll remember. Sahm doesn't even need to try here, as he makes a total mockery of these fools, that too in front of a live audience. It wasn't his fault though, because that mustached bandit was the one who whacked him first. At number 22, the Devil of Hell's Kitchen dines on the Yakuza, but this time we've got the OG show on the list. Matt doesn't do this all on his own, and he and Elektra form this kind of power couple to give us an exciting encounter. You know, there's something about watching Daredevil fight in the dark that makes it feel so much more legit considering his situation. These types of fights are stylized to the point where it almost seems as if it's some kind of dance, and I like that. These are some serious opponents they're up against, but Daredevil and Elektra get the job done almost as if it's a regular weekday assignment. It also goes to show how good these two would be as a proper duo, but Elektra's got some serious issues to take care of, so I think our boy is better off solo. Contrary to popular belief, snipers don't always have the advantage. I already mentioned Warrior, so now it's time to look at another TV gem called Into the Badlands. It's an interesting take on the world after tons of war, and its lead character Sonny is an easy fan favourite. Here he takes on a sniper and engages in a swift encounter. It's a short and sweet battle, but not the Sabrina Carpenter kind. Yeah, it's obviously not sweet for the sniper, considering how Sonny takes him out for good. Even so, he was a pretty skilled fighter to have been able to keep the main character occupied for as long as he did. That little part where he drops the knife just to pick it up from below totally reminded me of how Arya Stark took down the Night King in Game of Thrones. The only difference here is that Sonny has a lot more awareness than an evil Ice Lord. It's not often that you see the assassin getting assassinated, but when the target is Jack Reacher, only God can save you from certain doom. Now, you might be thinking that Reacher is just a muscle bro who fights, but that man has skills that would make anyone jealous. Here, he does give the impression as though he's trying to run from the assassin, but it's quickly a case of Uno reverse as an epic fight breaks out, resulting in death by tie. The only part where I'd say this scene lets me down is that we don't get any iconic line during the fight.
And certainly not our long-lost brothers.
Yeah, I may have hyped him up in the entry with the sniper, but here Sonny gets violated for a change. He's up against the Pilgrim, who has this crazy power, so you could say that he wasn't even at much of an advantage, considering Sonny wasn't able to use his own powers at the time. The fight choreography was quite solid. And there was enough action in it to keep you engaged right till the end, where Sonny gets thrown out through a freaking window. Also, the T-Rex skeleton in the setup just seems so random, especially in the middle of the fight, but I'll never mind the sight of a dinosaur. Man, I'll never understand why this show got cancelled. It definitely needs a new season, so I really hope that Netflix puts in the funding for a season 4 now that it's picked up distribution for America.
Cobra Kai.
Yeah, you could say that this was the kick-off point for the kids. We all know that Cobra Kai has tons of fights throughout its runtime, but this one where Miguel essentially announces himself is a key moment in the show. It's the typical trope where the good guy saves a damsel in distress with a live audience in attendance, but the funny thing here is that Samantha didn't really need the support, as she would have been able to teach Kyler and his gang a lesson all by herself. However, we did need the romance to kick off with something, and we got a pretty impressive display here. Miguel was totally in his element, because we only knew him as the skinny nerd guy before this, and now he's kicking butt as if he's doing it for a living. Good job, Johnny.
You mean like this?
You see, the tiger form uses internal force.
A little playful fighting never hurt anyone, which is why I chose to put this scene in at 16, even though there aren't any high stakes or anything of a serious nature involved. It's basically just a bro trying to riz a girl with his internal force, or whatever he wants to call it. Anyway, Rand shows off just how good he is at fighting when he decides to tutor Colleen in the middle of an argument. He's playful AF over here, and doesn't even need to try anything fancy, as Colleen visibly gets annoyed and tries to land one serious attack after another. Honestly, this is more flirting than fighting, but it was an entertaining sequence to watch, so I don't mind placing it on my list. Plus, bro didn't need to use his iron fist, which is always a flex. Hey, here's an idea. A reality show where you've got to fight your partner for a date. Remember, you heard it here first.
you're gonna have to go through me.
At number 15 is a savage fight and a savage death, although I kinda wish that they didn't do Bolo that dirty. He was an interesting character with a cool backstory, and even his style of fighting was pleasing to watch. That's probably why he put up a much better fight against Sahm than those immigration officers that we mentioned earlier before. Yeah, I'll admit that Bolo was using weapons while Sahm was mainly focusing on punches and kicks, but that only led to the fight becoming more intense as it progressed. Our hero seemed like he was dominating at first, but the tables turned soon enough for it to become a more evened out battle. There was some great choreography on display, and as much as I would have loved to see it go on forever, the fight did need to end at some point. I'd have definitely put this higher up on the list if it didn't just end with Bolo being stabbed in the back. Bro had a proper Julius Caesar moment here, didn't he?
Take care of yourself, man.
I'm gonna let you kill that kid.
Oh, he's already dead. I caught up with the van while you were around with no boost, man.
How often can you proudly say that you managed to take down your own sensei? Well, if anyone can, it's Daredevil, who does suffer a bit but still gets the last laugh. Yeah, Stick was totally messing around for the most part, even mocking Matt for not being able to beat down an old man. However, it's all about how the battle ends, and what we saw here was Matt flexing over Stick. I think that what makes this truly enjoyable is the fact that we never expected to see a dude like Stick move the way he did. That man would be able to fight toe-to-toe with anyone, and yes, I mean anyone. Plus, who doesn't like to see a little contest between student and teacher? Am I right? Tory gets her final redemption, and rightfully so in this sequence that showed us why she too deserved to be treated as a core character of the show. It also helped that Zara was a very annoying and smug character, so nobody really felt that bad to see her lose. Even so, if we're only talking about the fight, then it was a great showcase of girl boss level fighting. This wasn't just about winning a tournament to Tory, it was about taking control of her life and moving forward from all of those hardships that came her way. Yeah, this was more about the emotion than the physical fighting, and that's exactly why I decided to keep it above some pretty cool fights.
Knockout! Winner!
It always helps to mix some sass into your fight, as is seen here when Moon makes a mockery of MK. The fight doesn't really push any boundaries, but it looks really good because of how calm and composed Moon is. Well, at least till the final part where he gets a little bit emotional. The Widow sure was impressed by what she was seeing, and it almost felt as if Moon was playing around at first just to put on a show for his audience. MK isn't one to back down from such an opponent, but Moon made sure to make him feel the loss when he kicked him down with that final attack. I'm sure a lot of people also got what that middle blade was trying to be symbolic of, which just added to Moon's aura. See, this is what I liked about Into the Badlands. So many of their characters are done justice, no matter how brief their roles may be.
You took everything! I'm gonna kill you! Take your shot.
He may not be able to make that much of a mark on his opponent till now, but this scene does allow Daredevil to show Fisk why size isn't everything. These two had been at each other's throats for the majority of the show, and even though Fisk did give Matt a thrashing earlier, it was only because he was heavily injured from his fight against Nobu. However, now that Bro got himself a nice new suit, there were no more excuses left to give, and he delivered flawlessly. Yes, he did have a hard time, but who wouldn't when you're dealing with a huge dude made purely of muscle? Daredevil does manage to turn the tide in his favor towards the end, but that was only after he pulled out every trick he had in his book. I think I should also state that Fisk himself doesn't have any fighting style, apart from roaring and just charging at his opponents. Just imagine how deadly he would be if he actually picked up some sort of martial art.
People like my father! People like you!
This is my city, my family.
Let's go. You gonna dance or you gonna fight?
Kicking off my top 10 is Sahm taking down Leary with pride. This is the kind of scene that totally hypes you up and even makes you want to start a career in martial arts. While I'd still prefer Bolo to Leary, there's no doubt that the season 2 finale gave us a much better fight. Sahm is really pushed to his limits here, as Leary doesn't even react to the first few blows. Of course, things do even out in the battle, with some serious blows exchanged from both sides. However, that finisher move was super epic, and I just had to include it in my upper echelon of entries. I mean, I thought Leary was dead after that move, but I guess Sahm didn't want to take things that far. It's a brilliant showcase of skills, and this kind of direction is why the fans of the show love it so much. And yes, I really like that Sahm does have shades of Bruce Lee in him, while still being allowed to be an original character.
If you want to take him, you'll have to go through me first.
Ah yes, finally an entry where numbers actually mean something in a battle. Once again, Sonny's powers are dormant here, so he never really stood a chance against the Abbots, who outnumbered him and also showed us why it's always an advantage to have more fighters against one. Sonny did what he could to keep them at bay, but even the main character can only achieve a certain amount till the plot armor runs out. Yeah, I know he pulls out his weapon first, but once again, this is 3 versus 1. The final few attacks the Abbots launched on him after activating their own powers were pretty cool, mainly because of how well they coordinated them. It was as if we were watching clockwork and Sonny was reduced to nothing more than punching bag by the end of it. Yeah, I know it's harsh, but it is the truth. Plus, this was just episode 6 of season 1, so our boy had a lot more growing to do. In at number 8 is an epic draw for a season finale, which also happened to be the series finale because the show got cancelled. While that is unfortunate on so many levels, the final battle between Sonny and the Pilgrim was not. Yes, I know that Sonny isn't quite himself in season 3, as he keeps fighting people in weakened states, which leads him to losing most of his battles. However, even without having his powers against the Pilgrim, he does manage to end the fight in a draw with some help from his friends. Yeah, it could have been made in a way to make Sonny more dominant, but I feel it's the realism that made an impact on me, which is why I chose to give this entry such a high spot. Man, they better give us that 4th season, because I need to see Sonny come back from the dead and actually use his powers.
Goodbye, brother. I'm a lot of calm.
It's always a pleasure to see two TV Marvel stalwarts going at it. Daredevil doesn't need any introduction, and I've also covered Iron Fist earlier on the list, so we know the characters that are going at each other here. Bro was fighting his opponent harder than he'd fight a case in court, but that's mainly because he got struck first. Yeah, Luke Cage and Jessica Jones do come in between, but it's mainly Matt Murdock versus Danny Rand for most of this scene. I like how Stick was just chilling there like a proud dad watching his son kick some butt, and I'm pretty sure Jessica Jones was looking at Daredevil like, how is a blind guy fighting so well? Now, Rand did have to cheat in the middle by using his, Iron Fist, but I guess that was the only thing which was going to work against Luke. Anyway, he does get incapacitated by the end of the battle, so I'd say mission accomplished.
No, you weren't in charge.
Reacher can use his skills even while cuffed, as we can see here when he follows his signature no with an even more signature thrashing of goons in the space of less than a business minute. Those dudes really thought they could boss Alan Richardson around, but ended up getting violated to no end. Think about it, they had all the advantages they could have hoped for, and they still couldn't take down the ultimate Giga Chad. Imagine being so effective without even needing to throw hands. It literally took Shane Langston shooting David to get Reacher to stop his flexing, which says a lot about how strong he is in the art of combat. Man, I could seriously just sit and watch 10 seasons of Reacher all at once without getting bored. This man just never fails to amaze me. Cobra Kai has been an essential part of this video, so at number 5, I'm putting its crazy school fight, which I personally feel is the greatest battle in the show. I mean, it's chaotic AF, but it's got some nice humour put in between, and it also ends with a crazy freaking cliffhanger that extended all the way into the next season. I don't even know what I should highlight from it, because everything goes to town in the fight, whether it's Miguel versus Robbie, or Samantha versus Tory, every single second of this fight had us hooked. Even Hawk was having the time of his life here. Almost as if he was made for such brawls. There was so much to keep track of, and yes, I'll also shout out Stingray for all of those hilarious strikes. Bro never really cared about getting a stable job, did he? Daredevil has this weird relationship with Wilson Fisk, and yes, I've already covered a one-on-one fight between them, but this time Bro's taking out the Kingpin for good. It's not exactly a 1 versus 1 fight here though, as Bullseye does come in to mess around for a bit. He was a serious headache for Daredevil, but in this case, Mr. Fisk does manage to make the job easier by throwing him into a freaking wall. Matt fights smartly here, ensuring that he's able to remain the last man standing, so once Bullseye is down and out for the count, he focuses all of his energy on the Kingpin and takes him down in in a very satisfying thrashing. Bro was close to ending his arch nemesis, but that would mean going against what made him in the first place. So yeah, I'd say this ending was very much acceptable to fans of the show.
Told you had a problem.
Stay here.
Ah, here we have a new kind of hallway fight from a show that I'm not sure if you're aware of. Preacher has the right mix of supernatural elements as well as actual fighting, and the fact that it has Dominic Cooper playing the lead makes it oddly more interesting. This is the same guy who played the younger version of Tony Stark's father, and his mannerisms do seem to fit the Stark persona. Anyway, this hallway fight is a thing of beauty because it looks so cinematic with the wide, slow motion shots. Jesse exudes endless aura, and it's just so much more badass simply because of the fact that he's a preacher. I can definitely see references to Oldboy and Kingsman, so I'd say the creators put in good work here. Also, don't you think it's kind of funny that Preacher ended in 2019 and Reacher started in 2022? They basically just removed the P, which in this case would stand for powers. It's really intense and also tragic to see a bro taking down two of his own bros. The season 3 finale had Sahm go up against his brothers Young Jung and Hong, which led to a phenomenal fight, but also added tons of emotional weight. Once again, it's as if Sam's opponents just increase in their difficulty levels as the seasons progress, and this fight is proof of that. The blood and the violence were on full display, but even with all of that happening, Sahm didn't go through with ending either of his opponents. It is hard on him, as well as the viewers, because it did feel as though the fight was made to happen only because of the plot. Either way, it's a great extended battle that sees our hero on the brink, only for him to come out on top again. This would easily have been number 1 had it not been for the legacy status the following entry possesses. Yep, I wasn't kidding in the previous entry when I mentioned the legacy of the devil kicking some serious butt. Matt Murdock is a household name now, which a lot of people wouldn't have believed after the Ben Affleck Daredevil film. However, Netflix gave us easily one of its best shows ever, and life was never the same after that. We've already seen Daredevil in action in some of the previous entries, but all of that started with this one encounter that was raw, powerful, and memorable. I've mentioned countless times about how realistic this fight is, and that will always be a bonus as compared to superficial displays that we usually see in the movies. Bro was out doing Shang-Chi years before people even knew that character existed. And yes, it's been 10 years since this show came out, and it still hits harder than any of Matt's punches here. Hope you like this video. Please subscribe to the TV Regent, and here's another video that I know you're going to enjoy.